Hey there everybody, welcome back to the Planes, Trains, and Comic Books channel. My name's Matt, and today we're going to review Queens of the Lost World #1. But before I get into that, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, subscribing, commenting, it really helps me out and lets me know what you guys want to see more of. So, with that being said, let's get straight into it. Alright, we got the cover here for Queens of the Lost World #1. It is an Opus comic, and it is by Moore, Repion, Califano, and Pinto. And we start off on a dark night in the Midnight Forest where a couple of guys are looking for a person, but they're not very stealthy about it, and they're taken by surprise. But it turns out that the person who surprised them is the person they're looking for, and she is known as the Huntress. It turns out they've come here because they've been hired by the Queen to find this Huntress and bring the Huntress to see her. We learn a bit about this world and the Queen. We found out that this world has dragons and that this particular queendom is ruled by queens who can speak to dragons and also command them. But it turns out that the dragons inside are not well. Specifically, the main mother dragon. Something is going on with her. She's been in a daze for a long time, and this is causing the queen to worry not only for the dragon's health, but for her queendom. So once the Huntress heard the men's story, she decided to go help the queen out. So the queen tells her she needs the Huntress because the Huntress can find anything, beast, man, or object. And she has a specific object in mind that she thinks will help heal her dragon. But all the Huntress cares is that the queen can pay, and when she's offered everything she wants for her services, she decides she will take on the job. And that's where I'm going to stop it. I don't want to spoil anything else. So I have been enjoying these Opus comics for a while now, especially the one based on Frank Frazetta paintings. And even though this one isn't in that line, it's very close. Obviously, it's fantasy based, and the world Leah Moore sets up here is pretty interesting. It's a little bit like Game of Thrones, where there's a queendom that has been ruling with dragon power, but they don't seem crazy or evil yet, at least. But there's definitely a lot more magic and sword and sorcery stuff in here than there is in Game of Thrones. I didn't show you it, but there's definitely a whole side story with an evil female warrior who's on a very similar hunt. I think Leah Moore did a really good job building this world and setting up all the different pieces. Because it is the first issue, it's a new world, so you have to do a lot of heavy lifting in that first couple pages. So I think she did a really good job of establishing all these different queens of this lost world, and like what factions they belong to, and how they're going to interact with each other further on in the story. I thought the art was solid. There were some parts where the evil female hunter got pulled into like mud and stuff, and so it was a lot of browns and grays, and sometimes I wasn't exactly sure what was happening, but that was the only part where the art got a little bit murky. The rest of it was really well drawn, and I really liked the design of the dragons and the cool armor and stuff of each of the characters. So overall, I thought this comic was a pretty good read. It was pretty fun, and I'm down to check out the second issue. So I'm going to give issue 1 a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think it was definitely a good setup for a fantasy world, and has some nice setup for a complex story with lots of moving parts. So if you saw anything you like, definitely go check that out at your local comic book store, and we will see you on the next one.